Thanks and good morning and welcome to our February user group. And my name is Wayne Welk and I'm an automation specialist in New Orleans, and I'll be introducing and talking a little bit. And joining me today is Mike Masterson, also an automation specialist out of Houston, will also help present today. And we've entitled our user group for this month, Introduction to Operator Interfaces. And perhaps everyone might already know what an operator interface is, but we wanted to kind of give a little bit of an overview of the operator interfaces from Rockwell Automation, and just kind of also a little bit of an update on what's new in that. But it was kind of intended for those who perhaps have not been that familiar with it. As we always do, we talk about what's coming up next. And we'll start with our user group first. So March, we have a theme in March around safety, and we're going to do a machine safety overview, and that'll be, it's kind of shaping that up now, but that's going to be around the safety controllers like the guard logics, compact guard logics, and safety devices that would also kind of connect to those safety controllers. So a good overview for machine safety. And then for Tech Talks, we have at least one more scheduled right now in February. It's going to be on quality remanufacturing by Rockwell Automation, because we do have a theme this month around remanufacturing, repair and remanufacturing from Rockwell Automation. We have a lot of TBDs there, but we will continue to fill out our schedule as we go. We try to kind of get topics that are timely and relevant, so sometimes we don't quite have our topics defined, but coming. Everything to keep up on everything and find our archives and see what you missed, everything is on reynoldsonline.com under the resources section. So as I mentioned, today will be Mike Masterson and myself, Wayne Welk. We'll do this discussion, and let's keep going.
Well, let's give a shout out to Brian McKeska in the background.
Yes,
making sure he's editing all the curse words out.
Yeah.
Yes,
we do have we have Brian, who's always our control room in the back, keeping the show moving. So we're going to start with PanelView HMI terminals first, and Mike will come in a little bit later and talk about the industrial computer line. So, like we said, this is an introduction. We did an introduction to controllers and IO back in January, and the controllers and IO where we look at the fact that we're bringing in all these data points from the factory floor. Discrete analog devices are wired into the PLC, and the PLC does the logic to control those devices, right? Based on the inputs, there's a programmable logic in the controller to control the outputs that are connected, and that was good. And for many years, that was kind of what we had out there. But then, of course, we started to need the ability to see what was kind of going on, in the controller. Maybe not necessarily have to have the, back in the old days, we had the lunchbox computer, right? You had to lug that thing out, perhaps, to get connected to a controller. So the operator interface terminals became, kind of became a standard as far as an easy way to interface and get some graphics and display data out of your controllers. Right there on the factory floor. And for Rockwell Automation, that operator interface line has always been known as the PanelViews. And they've gone through several iterations through the years. There was the PanelView standard, well, of course, known as PanelView, I guess, when it first came out, but probably later dubbed the PanelView standard. Then we moved to PanelView Plus, and then into the PanelView Plus 6s and 7s. And there's even a new PanelView. So this is our kind of real quick snapshot of the portfolio. And if you go to the Rockwell's website and go under graphic terminals, I believe is how they categorize them, you'll find that there's quite a few options to choose from. So it gets a little confusing, especially if you're not that familiar with that kind of history we just talked about, and then kind of what makes each one different. But these are kind of the four main ones, and that list is going to get even further simplified because the PanelView 6 is for the most part at the end of life. But we look at there's the PanelView 800 family, and those are really designed to kind of be, smaller machine level control HMI, and they work with the Micro 800 and the MicroLogix controllers, as well as the lower end of the CompactLogix line. And they will use the Connected Components Workbench software to develop the screens. So it's a good product, and we'll show that kind of a little bit of a architecture of that in a minute. It's designed to be, again, on the kind of the lower cost alternative. They come in 3 sizes: 4-inch, 7-inch, and a 10-inch panel. Their color and the touchscreen, and they have Ethernet and a serial port on them, so it gives you some somewhat decent connectivity options. The PanelView Plus 6, like we said a moment ago, is at end of life, and we'll have a picture of that here in a moment too. But PanelView Plus 6 has been around for quite some time, and there's a huge install base of it. It kind of ranged between a 7-inch up to 15-inch screen. It had built-in Ethernet communications and a serial port, as well as the ability to add-on communication modules for some of the specialty networks or field buses, such as remote IO, ControlNet. Yeah, there you go. So those are the 2 I think we seem to encounter the most, of course, is remote data highway, remote IO, and ControlNet. Then I guess several years ago, the PanelView Plus 7 family had come out, and it's been out for quite some time. So it's not a new development at all. Anything from a 4 up to 19-inch. So it brought in a 19-inch screen, a bigger screen for us. But when the 7 came out, the serial port and the ability to add the add-on communication card were kind of taken out. So it was just an Ethernet port only on the PanelView Plus 7s. It should be noted that 6 and 7 both use FactoryTalk View Studio Machine Edition to develop the applications. And you can easily take a PanelView Plus 6 application and convert it into the 7. It's both using the same development software. And then yet one more to the family is the newest guy on the block, and that is the PanelView. We call it the PanelView 5000 family, but there are kind of two classes of it: the 5310 and the 5510. And this will also be a 7 to 19-inch screen. It is Ethernet only. And the real kind of important thing to understand about the 5000 family is that it only communicates to Logix controllers. So the 7s and the 6s can talk to other, PLCs out there, not just a Rockwell controller. But the 5000 family is only Logix controllers, which means compact and ControlLogix. The other kind of unique thing, and again, we'll show more on each of these as we go, but the other thing on the 5000 family is that it uses Studio 5000 software to actually develop the application. So if you bought Studio 5000 to do your compact and ControlLogix applications, starting with what I think it was, maybe version, was it 24 or 27 that the View Designer came in? Mike, I don't know if you know that off the top of your head.
I believe it was 24.
24. So starting with version 24, View Designer came along with Studio 5000. It's there. It's not an additional cost to add it. It's just part of it. And when you installed it, it was there all along. So that is some of the nice features of the 5000, is that you have one software tool for both your Logix and your PanelView. But then there are some trade-offs in that it only speaks with Logix controllers.
Yeah, your third-party devices will have to go through the ControlLogix so we can display information from those products to that HMI.
So let's kind of move along. A couple of architecture pictures just to help visualize perhaps how you might apply these in your application. So Rockwell kind of breaks them down into a couple of different classes. Don't need to get too caught up in these classification names, but one's component class. And again, this is really intended for the PanelView 800 and usually connected to a Micro 800 controller. Once again, the PanelView 800 can be connected to a MicroLogix and to I think the L1 and the L2 CompactLogix. So you can use it outside of the Micro 800 family if you want. But it's intended to be, again, a small machine level control somewhat simple display, shall we say, for your machine level control. Then they kind of classify a small control class, and in this case, and I didn't explain there's a PanelView Plus 7 standard and a PanelView Plus 7 performance. So there's kind of two versions of the 7. The standard is kind of the lower cost alternative that allows you to only communicate to one controller and is limited to the number of graphic displays that you can develop in the application. So just kind of, it's not really intended for a larger distributed type control system. It's going to be talking to one machine, one controller, and again, without a lot of displays in the application. So this example here kind of shows the PanelView Plus 7 and talking to a L2 compact logics through a Stratix switch. And of course, talking to other integrated components such as the PowerFlex and the Point IO, and even a kinetics motion. So the 7 is definitely, can do the job. It's just, again, limited to talking to one controller. So therefore, we'll kind of consider that a smaller control situation. And of course, an integrated class or integrated architecture class would be probably suited towards the PanelView Plus 7 performance. So the performance edition would be, able to talk to multiple controllers, and there's really no technical limit to the number of displays that you can develop, or at least not a published limit. Yep.
Yeah, I think in theory they actually say 500 displays, but if you have 500 displays on something this size, you have other issues.
Yeah, it is right. It's a truly right. There's always going to be a resource limit, no doubt, but there is, it's not limited to like the standard where you can only have, I think, up to 100 displays in the application. And it supports a ring architecture as well as the kind of what we saw before, the linear and the star. So you can definitely integrate this right into your network and to the integrated architecture type class devices. So on to a little bit of the update part. So the PanelView Plus 6 discontinuation, a lot of red on this slide. And at the end of last year, quite a few of the, or a large chunk of the PanelView Plus 6 terminals had been officially discontinued. And there'll be some that will get to survive until a little bit later this year, several to September, and then a few make it to the end of December. So in general, and this is not anything probably new if you're a PanelView Plus 6 user, we've been working for many years to help get customers to convert from 6s to 7s as panels need to be replaced in the field. But just know that at this point, the ability to get some of the PanelView Plus 6 products are going to be difficult. Some have been discontinued. There could be some stock left potentially, but then as that stock gets depleted, they're going to be gone. One thing to note there in the bottom is Rockwell does a really nice job of publishing migration guides, and there are numerous PanelView migration guides that will show you how to take a PanelView Plus 6 to a PanelView Plus 7, or even if you have an older, like a PanelView Plus standard, take it to a 6 or to the 7. Those are all documented. And if you haven't seen these documents before, they're really nice. They're kind of kind of like a tables. You can kind of search for your catalog number of what you have installed, and it'll give you the replacement catalog number in the PanelView Plus 7 family. And if there is a need for an adapter plate, it'll give you that information there too. I think when we move from this PanelView Plus standard to the 6, the panel cutouts were pretty much the same, pretty uniform. When we move from the 6 to the 7, there are some situations where an adapter plate is needed. Some do fit the same cutout, some require an adapter plate. But it seems like I have not seen the need to actually cut a larger hole in the panel. It seems like the PanelView 7s are usually a little bit smaller cutout, therefore the adapter plate can be used. Mike, if you have any additional comments on cutouts, but
well, the only takeaway is if you do have any questions and you find the migration document confusing, please call one of your Rockwell, our automation specialist. We want to make sure you get the right migration path there, and based on the number of sizes, it can get confusing. So please reach out to your resources.
Yes, agree. I think that's a daily call. So yeah, don't never feel like you have to figure this out on your own. We are here to help. Let's move into the 7 performance. So there is kind of a new development happening around the PanelView Plus 7, the performance models, and that is a Series B that will be coming out here within the next month or 2. And so the PanelView Plus 6 and the PanelView Plus 7 up to this point have been under the hood has been Windows CE 6.0 operating system. You may or may not have seen that or knew that, but if you were to kind of get out of the application and get to the desktop of the panel view, it was Windows CE. So obviously Windows CE is not a platform we can be supported much any longer. So the Series B is really about getting off of CE and moving into the Windows 10 IoT platform. But it also will bring in some additional improvements to the PanelView 7 family. And a couple slides that just kind of show that. So again, they're estimating kind of into March most likely. So we'll just say March to April. Again, there's a big asterisk next to that. It's hard to pinpoint release dates nowadays. PanelView Plus 7 again, so we'll bring in a Windows 10 IoT Core operating system. So basically running on the panel itself will be FactoryTalk Machine Edition Station, but that's really not anything to have to get too worried about. There's no licensing required when you purchase the PanelView Plus 7. Any kind of runtime license will already be on the panel, but that's the technology that'll be running on the box. Intel x86 dual core, 4 gig of RAM on board, and with about approximately 2 gigabytes of available user storage space there, and running Microsoft Edge for HTML5 compatibility on the web browser. So the previous, the Windows CE version, of course, had Internet Explorer running if you had to pull up the browser on that panel for an application.
Oh, Wayne, back on that slide, one thing that's not included with the Series B up front is VNC is not going to be in the initial release of the Series B. It will be addressed down the road in a firmware update.
All right, thanks, Mike. So this is just showing you that even though it's a series, the Series B, there's really, as far as the panel look and feel, there's no difference to that. Just that you're going to be getting some of the improvements based on having an upgrade on the hardware technology and the operating system on board as well. Kind of look behind the panel. Again, that hasn't really changed. You got the USB ports, the 2 Ethernet ports for DLR capability. So you can, again, like we showed in the architecture diagram, you can put this into a ring. Now, so if those who are familiar with the PanelView Plus 6, one of the other big changes when we move from the 6 to the 7 is that there was a Logix module that you would put onto the back of a PanelView Plus 6 that was replaceable. In this case, the PanelView Plus 7 is a one-piece design. So they do show this kind of thing on the back here, but there is no Logix module you have to go out and purchase, and therefore, if the screen on the 7 failed, you would have to send the whole unit back in for repair. An SD card slot too available. But one thing that's really unique about the 7, and we talked about the serial ports on the PanelView Plus 6 earlier, is that that Rockwell has made a few USB cables that actually allow you to connect into the USB slot here on the PanelView Plus 7 and connect to such as a SLC 500 over DF1 or MicroLogix. So we have the 2 orange cables, and we have the CP3 cable and the PMO2 cable. So if you're connecting to the MicroLogix or to a SLC 500, this blue cable is actually the console cable for a Stratix switch. So not something that you would plug in there, but that USB port can be used to actually do serial communications to those 2 controllers. Other than that, I don't think there's any other functionality that the USB port brings other than maybe plugging in a keyboard to it.
You are correct.
Good. All right. Just a chart that just helps show the Series A to Series B, some of the differences there. We talked about a few of them already, right? So CE, Windows CE to IoT Core. This was a single core processor going to a dual core. Definitely an upgrade in the RAM memory storage. Here's another significant one, right? So if you ever had to do a PanelView Plus 6 firmware update, you had this kind of an outlier, right? We're so used to control flash and everything else. Here we had the firmware upgrade wizard. So now the Series B will support control flash and control flash plus. So looks like some better printer support, AirPrint and internet printing protocol. So again, just a nice upgrade, on that unit, which has probably been something that's been needed for some time. It will remain its class 1 div 2 certifications, right? So no changes in that. But this is actually one other very important thing to note before we forget on that, is that there was in the Series A, there was an AC power supply option as well as a DC power supply option. When we move to Series B, they will only offer a DC only power supply option. That'd be 24-volt DC only. And no catalog part number changes either. All right, so this kind of is just talking about just some of the things we mentioned before. So improved firmware updates, right, with the control flash capability, an improved control panel experience, maintenance mode, easier to restore factory defaults. That I'd like to see how that works, because I know if you ever had to do the factory reset on the PanelView 6, it was always a tricky experience. Better printer support, file transfers, and calibrations. So just some of the things to look forward to in the Series B. All right, security always important too. So with bringing in the Windows 10 IoT Core, you'll have better modern security options to this panel as well. All right, and let's move into the PanelView 5000 real quick, just to kind of help show what this panel is and some of the details on it. So like we said before, the PanelView Plus 7 had a standard edition and the PanelView 7 had a performance edition. Well, the same kind of concept applies to this new PanelView 5000 family. So the 5310 would be kind of in line with what the PanelView 7 standard was, and that is this will talk to one controller, and there will be a limit to the number of screens you can develop. So it is 100 screens that are developed in the application itself. And once again, the 5000 family will only talk to Logix controllers, so it can connect to only one at a time in the application. So again, if you don't really need, if you're looking for a little bit lower cost, and you don't have to, if you only have to communicate to really one controller, and you don't have a very large application, then the 5310 could be the right fit for your application. We have, the 6, 7, 9, 10, and 12. Anytime you see the W behind it, they are widescreen aspect ratios to those panels. The 5510 is, again, kind of equivalent to that performance unit. It comes with the options for a touch only or touch with a keypad. And you can communicate to as many as 4 ControlLogix or CompactLogix processors and up to 500 screens. So larger, larger development and, larger networked applications. 2 Ethernet ports for DLR support. And then the screen size options here up to a 19-inch screen. And these are the ones that will bring in class 1 div 2 as well, and your NEMA ratings. So like I mentioned, I guess towards the beginning there, when we look at the overall portfolio, the PanelView 5000 is unique because it will use Studio 5000 to develop the application. So inside of Studio 5000, there are kind of a few subcomponents to it, right? And if you're familiar with doing the control logics and compact logics programming, then you have been working with the logics designer piece all along. But Studio 5000 View Designer is also part of Studio 5000. Also, the 5000 Architect is in there too. So these three here come along with any version of Studio 5000, I believe, or there could be some, but basically these come along with at no additional cost. So Architect and Designer come with Studio 5000. Application Code Manager is an option. Does have it's an extra cost if you want to use the Application Code Manager, which is basically you can create your own library and reuse your code. The Logix Emulate 5000, that comes with the professional edition basically. So if you buy Studio 5000 Professional, you'll have the Studio 5000 Logix Emulate. This is the L7 emulator. And the Studio 5000 simulation interface as well. So these are pieces of 5000, right? So in many cases you have them there and perhaps haven't used them or even realized they were sitting there all along. So as far as kind of what a screenshot looks like, so if you're kind of interested in the application piece, especially if you're familiar with the Machine Edition Studio, Machine Edition View Studio, the application here is similar. You're going to use, you're going to develop your application screens, right? So when you go into 5000, you can create a View Designer application, choose the size of the panel you want, and then start building your application just like you did with the PanelView 6s and 7s. You'll put objects, you'll link them to the tags in the controller, kind of the standard deal. One important thing to note is that, like we said earlier, you can take a PanelView Plus 6 application and move it to a 7, right, with no problem whatsoever. You just basically convert your 6 to a 7 inside of Machine Edition. There is no ability, at least at this point in time, to take those PanelView Plus 6 or 7 applications and convert them into a PanelView 5000. So there is no migration tool that'll bring a Machine Edition application into a Studio 5000 View Designer application. So it's important to just understand that if you're going the 5000 route, you're going to be pretty much taking this and starting from scratch. It is a good app. It is a really nice panel, and if you're kind of starting from scratch, then it's definitely worth looking at the 5000 family for your application. We want to put this in here just to show the kind of, again, the hidden feature there that maybe you if you're familiar with the control, the Logix Designer part of it, I should say, but if you want to start a view application for the 5000 panels, well, in Studio 5000 you'll get these 3 options. Well, I have 3 options because I have Machine Edition installed as well, but you'll have these 2 at least, Logix and View. And so again, if you choose Logix, then you'll get all your Logix options, compact, control Logix. But when you choose the View, then I'll get my 5310 or my 5510 panels, and I can choose which one I want. Now, I have Machine Edition, FactoryTalk View Machine Edition here as one of my project types. So what's kind of interesting is that if you had FactoryTalk View Studio Machine Edition installed on your computer, it actually shows it here as an option in Studio 5000. So I can create a PanelView application, but it will launch Machine Edition when I do that. So it is not integrated into Studio 5000 in that respect. It just basically gives me the shortcut and it'll open up Machine Edition separately from here. So if you see that, that is what that does for you. So basically, you create a new project, you choose your project type, and yes, in Studio 5000, you can have a kind of a Logix controller in your project and a PanelView 5000 in your project. So you could have one project that would basically be your control and your visualization, kind of one thing to back up and maintain. And just shows what happens next. Once we hit next, we get our blank canvas, and we have your project explorer for all your pieces, parts of your application, like your screens, and then the toolbox for all the various buttons and graphics and stuff, and then all your properties, typically of whatever it is you're doing over here. So it's it's an intuitive panel to work with, and it's really nice graphics. So if you have not had a chance to play with the 5000 family, we encourage you to take a look at it.
And we do have available labs for View Designer also. So again, reach out to your Reynolds account manager or specialist, and we can set those labs up for you. Anybody who's used to using ME and SE, I think it'd be a good chance now to maybe mess around with it and see if this might fit some of your applications better than the PanelView Plus.
Sure. Thank you, Mike. And that is it for panel views. We'll turn it over to Mike and talk a bit about industrial computers and thin clients.
Okay. Well, as we go more into the process world, industrial computers and thin clients are becoming more and more part of our system. In fact, quite often where we used to use exclusively a lot of panel views on jobs, we're not putting panel views anywhere because we're going to more of a networked or a client server type architecture. So Rockwell has always had these products in there, and we're going to look at some of the products that are currently existing and have existed for a while, and some of the new products that are coming out. So with that, we're going to take a look at some of the industrial computers. These are actually some of the systems that Rockwell's had out for quite some time. There's the 5400 integrated display computer. Those things have always gone up to 22 inches as a display. The only problem about this, a lot of our applications, these are not class 1 div 2, so some of our oil and gas applications, they were not a good fit. We do have the VersaView 5400 wall mount or flange mount PCs. Those are becoming more and more popular. The 6181 integrated display computers, a lot of these times, these would be a panel view replacer if we want to run something with an OS in the background. We've often used these. And currently right now, our only integrated computer display, which is our 6181X, which is our computer. It's fully integrated PC and display, and it is class 1 div 2. The issue with this right now is this is a kind of a mature product. It still is limited to a 12-inch display. So I just want to make everyone aware of that. We do have another solution for it. If we do need something for class 1 div 2 and need to go larger, we can always use a class 1 div 2 separate display and a class 1 div 2 shoebox computer. That would probably be our solution for that. All right. Now, as we go more client server, people don't want thick clients anymore. They don't want operating systems on their end devices. A lot of times that might be a network security deal. So we are seeing a lot more people asking for industrial thin clients. Now we have a full line of this, and the nice thing about it, all of them are Thin Manager ready. Thin Manager is our client management software. All these devices will have some firmware on them that will make integration into a Thin Manager system very easy. So that's another topic unto itself. So we won't go a lot into it, but we do put the firmware in it for all of our thin clients. So we have the integrated display. We go up from 12 inches up to 22 inches. A shoebox type single display box that's for our inexpensive type applications. Multi display thin clients, and then up to multi 4K. So we have a pretty complete line there of thin clients, and we're seeing these as a lot more popular these days because a lot of times people don't want to put a $2,000 computer on site. They would rather put a much less expensive thin client there, and plus, again, no operating system. So it does fit a lot of network security needs depending on your customer's demands. All right. Now, while the two previous slides I talked about, those are sort of entrenched Rockwell products. A few years back, Rockwell bought a company in Italy called ASEM, ASEM, and they are a manufacturer of industrial PCs and monitors, and quite a few other devices too. So these products are, we were first introduced them as specialists as the 6300 series, but this is a manufactured Rockwell product, 100% out of their factory in Italy, where just let you know, 30% of their R&D budget out of that factory, or 30% of the employees actually work on R&D on that. They are always striving to come out with new product that fits, that brings a little extra to the market. Because this is a Rockwell product, one thing nice about it, it does have a nice price point, and it fills in the holes we had with some of the VersaViews. Wayne, next one. So where the 6300 comes into play, as we, again, wall mount PCs, the book mounts or the box style PCs and thin clients, the industrial panel computers up to 24 inches, and then the box type PCs for some of the larger applications. Now, where I go that on the touchscreens themselves, they both are analog resistance and PCAP style, all 24 volts. The box PCs, there you have options to have, or some will have and some will not have a cooling fan depending on your needs. And the thin clients are all Intel Atom, and they have no operating system and no SSD on them, so no memory. Again, network security is in play here. And with that, next one. So after the PCs, we also have a complete line of industrial servers. As I said, thin clients are becoming a bigger part of our market instead of the tailor-made HMI, such as the PanelViews. We're starting to see a lot more applications for servers. So we have Rockwell, and just to set the ground rules here, Rockwell loves virtualization. We live in it. All my specialist counterparts, we all run VMs of our Rockwell software. So we're expecting our customers to start doing that too. And that's just a big push in IT infrastructure anyway, using virtualized servers. So we do have several products available to us. We have the VersaView virtual appliance. This is sort of a simplex design virtualized server. We have this Stratus products, the FT server, which we've been using for years for doing a sort of a hot swappable redundant system. But we also now have the ZTC Edge, which are small, I want to say almost like bookshelf type modules, where they can actually size up to run up to 12 VMs on it. I've used these on a couple of jobs, and they have been, I will say, for ease of use, they work very well, and they actually have a very nice price point for the type of redundancy you're going to get out of it. Then for engineered systems, large systems, we can also help you come up with an industrial data center. These are fully configured servers, and a lot of, for the most part, these are pre-configured designs. So this is more of a, it's not a part number, it is a service. but we can aid in putting those together for you.
Yeah, so one note on the ZTC Edge there, Mike, is
Yeah.
that what's kind of cool about it is it could actually be DIN rail mounted in the panel itself. It doesn't require a 19-inch rack, and it definitely doesn't require the space that industrial data center require. So you can put it right in your control panel, and it's designed for the plant floor. Yep.
First time I used them was for an offshore platform, and they worked great for the application. So I will say, if any of this sounds like it might fit your application, please reach out to us and we'd love to talk to you about it. Okay. Now we're looking at some other Rockwell products that have the ability to run software. So when I say run software, basically we're going to be able to run FactoryTalk View or an HMI software. And if you want to do it in your ControlLogix platform, you can do it with a 1756 compute module, which is basically, it's just an in-chassis PC. So if that fits the need, you don't want to have a PC on site, that might be something for you to take a look at for your application. Then we also have the CompactLogix 5480, which we've talked about in the past. This product's been out for about 4 or 5 years. We don't see it in the Gulf Coast market so much, but you see it more in where there's a lot of discrete manufacturing. This unit actually has a PC built into it. It has separate networking to the PC. The biggest caveat that I've run into, it's not class 1 div 2. So a lot of the applications I personally work on, it doesn't fit the bill. So, but it does have a full-blown PC in there, and you could easily run FactoryTalk View ME on it. Then we also have our VersaView computers, again, shoebox computers, where you can run something like FactoryTalk on it too, and put that on the site level. So a lot of times on our applications, especially in class 1 div 2 areas, I'll go back to saying, instead of looking at maybe a panel view, especially if you need a larger display or something, a lot of times we're going to push you towards an industrial computer and an industrial monitor that have hazardous ratings. So keep that in mind. If you ask for a solution and we come back to you with 2 parts, we're just doing this because this is the solution we feel best fits the bill. All right. And where can you find all this wonderful information? Wayne put up some information on some of the migration guides for if you have older panel views, what to migrate it to. Well, Rockwell has had this publication out for now, and it's constantly being updated. The pub number is view-SG001. This is one of the few pub numbers I actually have memorized and keep it memorized. But if you were to take a look at this document, you'll find all the PCs and PanelView type products are listed there, along with specifications. Now, the migration pathways are not in there, but the links to the catalogs are. So if you do, where I'm going with this is a good starting point. If you want to take a look at what Rockwell has to offer, start here. It'll walk you through everything, what we have to offer on both PanelView Pluses and the 5000, but also can cover all of our industrial computers and monitors. This is constantly being updated because we are dealing in more of a PC market. Changes are coming faster. So if you download this, I would say go back 6 months from now and take a look at it, and maybe download the newer version of it, because there will be changes and these things will be coming out constantly. All right. With that, I think that's all we've got for today. Any questions? Okay. Well, if that's the case, thank you for attending, and we look forward to hearing or seeing you next month. Thank you.